There has always been an ongoing tension between the rich and working class in order to control the means of society. This impact that has been brought upon society and its individuals can clearly be depicted by various works of art through literature and film. In this video essay, we will discuss the effects of integrated class conflicts in science fiction and how robots are fantasized as the ideal replacement for workers. And when compared to the working class, the audience will begin to question if humans are really any different from robots, contemplating whether if the idealized replacement for workers are simply another way of entering the ongoing cycle of oppression for labor. We will further emphasize this through the use of genre conventions. Dystopian future, which is created by class conflicts, the metaphoric representation of humans as robots, and further developing the idea of robots only existing as a metaphor for humans, and lastly, the presence of social commentary.
Class conflict is the basis of the problem in the novel. The upper class is viewed as superior to the lower class. In this case, the upper class are humans and the working class are the androids. As mentioned in the novel, the main character, Rick, goes on a mission to determine whether or not he's an actual human being. He doesn't rest until he distinguishes what exactly differentiates robots from humans. While not stated directly by the author, it's clear that being identified as a robot is viewed as bad, for nobody wanted to be associated as one. Furthermore, Communist Manifesto relates to the novel because the Nexus 6 androids were created in order to fulfill the jobs of the working class, which fulfills the idea that the working class were slaves to the upper class.
As the robot science fiction genre is explored, there's a clear pattern of robots taking on the responsibilities of the human working class, ideally to serve humans and turn society into a utopia, which leads to parallels between the robots and humans. Many questions are raised throughout RUR and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep regarding similarities between robots and humans. In RUR, the robots begin to gain human characteristics, which makes the audience wonder whether or not humans are any different. And if not, that supports the idea that robots are an analogy for the working class. When knowing the robots are a metaphor for the mistreatment of the labor force, it puts things into perspective for the audience to show that the people who make the rich richer are viewed as machines that can be replaced and to be treated as such. This immoral way of thinking further demonstrates that the control of the artificial humans reveals a difference in power, the main catalyst in class struggle and mistreatment of workers. These themes are frequently reinstituted through symbolism and fiction in order to reveal the corruption that is fostered by economic inequality, in which is seen a trade-off between unethical working conditions and capitalists being main beneficiaries of their toil. This is then reflected constantly in societal settings.
Because of the characteristic similarities that manifest between humans and machines, there comes a manufactured need within the robot science fiction genre to distinguish between them. In the genre, it is exhibited in the testing of suspected robots and the monitoring of human actions. Nevertheless, there is an outlasting question of why the distinction is so important. In Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, whether it be the keeping of livestock, through which empathy toward animals is exhibited, or the administration of the Voight-Kampff test, through which covert robots are sought out and destroyed, humans try their darndest to separate themselves from their artificial counterparts. But why? Well, as exemplified in Carol Capek's RUR, this is because robots serve to replace the working class. They serve humans, enduring toil, abuse, and oppressive systems of power, while humans enjoy the perks of the upper class. Now, although they are machines, as displayed in Blade Runner, the robots are designed to mimic humans both in physical appearance and ability. So, in order to avoid confusion and the threat of mistreatment, humans develop systems and tests to separate themselves from robot laborers. Not only is the act of keeping animals a symbol of status within the plot, seeing as real livestock have become scarce and therefore more valuable, but it is a factor in distinguishing humans from machines, as reinforced by Rick's introduction of the Voight-Kampff test in Chapter 4. When protagonist and robot bounty hunter Rick Deckard introduces the test, he states how humanity is determined by one's, quote, primary automatic response to a morally shocking stimulus, the stimulus being implied animal cruelty or death. Essentially, the test gauges the appropriate empathetic response toward animals within suspected robots. This quote reinforces the value of animal care in validating one's humanity by contextualizing the keeping of livestock as an effective display of empathy. Ultimately, the desire to separate oneself from robots shows how, although it is universally understood that they are mistreated, there is a remaining neglect for the working class.
The cycle of exploitation is harmful and dehumanizing, which is reflected in the way robots were threatened with pain and death in RUR or hunted in Blade Runner. This harmful cycle ultimately leads to the conflict between the working class and exploitative elites, which result in the downfall of mankind, suggesting that the mistreatment and exploitation of the working class is the source of social destruction. Now concluding, we have found that there is a problem in the way our society has been structured. Art has become the replica of what our reality could be or what it is becoming. Within our essay, we use different forms of art as examples. This includes literature like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep or films like Blade Runner, in order to demonstrate how the effects of class conflicts in our society have integrated onto a very strong genre, science fiction. It is evident that we have a problem, and in our essay we first debrief how class conflicts are the basis to our dilemma. We then introduce the idea of robots being the idealized replacement for the working class, and while it was easy to assume that labeled emotionless beings could replace the working class, one begins to realize that humanity is stuck on a cycle of ongoing labor oppression. Whether it be humans or robots, we are constantly looking for someone to take over the workload. When analyzing the comparison between the working class and robots, it became apparent of their many similarities, to which we concluded it reaches the point of being unable to tell the difference between the two, evidently proving we are in the same cycle once again. Even deeper, we analyze the importance of society and the role they play in depicting one's humanity. Why is it important to prove one is human? It all comes down to what standards our society has placed. The structure of our society requires it to have a working class, and so long as it is set, whether it be humans or robots, one will have to sit down and do the work that is required for our society to run. This is the cycle of hierarchy.